Salutations, ladies and gentlemen. The Knife Raven here, back again with another video. And in today's video, I will be taking a look at something I rarely ever speak of, and that is a wine knife. Now, this knife, which is part of the Laguiole style of wine knife, is very interesting, and there's a bit of history behind this knife, and there's also a bit of history due to how I got this knife. And yeah, I'm going to share both of those with you to my best extent. So, grab a glass of wine depending on what your age is and what time it is, and if not, do what I'm doing. Have some coffee or some tea. Sit back, relax, and enjoy. So to start, this is a knife I don't have a box for. Now the reason is because I bought this secondhand. This was not something I purchased from a website or a store. This was something I got at a show. Now I frequent antique shows and festivals. I go to artisan maker workshops, programs, and such. I try to be invested in small makers, both local and worldwide. And I like farmers markets and gun shows, knife shows, if I can find them, although the latter, they are incredibly rare. But I tend to find a lot of good stuff at these antique shows, and I found one. It was in a relatively small town, and there was a booth set up with many a box full to the brim of antique knives, and I was giddy that day. The problem was I just didn't have enough money to buy all of them because, let me tell you, there were hundreds of knives there. But this one, the Laguiole wine knife, I was with my father, and even he thought this was a really nice knife. Now, I wasn't sure it was made in France because there are a lot of counterfeit Laguioles, and this could have, in theory, been one of them. But we went with our guts, and we bought it anyway. If I remember correctly, this knife cost around 50 to, at the most, 70 Canadian. I think it was closer to 50. It was a little bit more than your average, pull it out of the bin with 50 other small knives, like old Schrades, old timers. Old Marbles knives, old Utica, and Hammerbrand, a lot of those old American manufacturers that aren't really active that much anymore. Those often cost you less than $10 each. This was a bit more pricey for a used knife, although upon inspection, it doesn't seem to have any use on it. So, we went with our guts, we bought it, and when I got it home, I did some research, and Laguiole Imports in the US is selling this exact same knife from this exact same company in this very same handle material, brand new for over $200. I kid you not, this was one of the best deals we have ever gotten. So, wonderful little story behind that. I've actually bought from that knife booth multiple times. They're very friendly people. They actually recognize me. But yeah, I got this knife, and it was more for my mother. She likes Sommelier knives and picnic knives, a lot of the French and Italian knives. Those are among her favorites. And we kind of bought this as just a thing for the house. It wasn't directly to me. It wasn't directly to my dad. It was just kind of something we have, like a family heirloom, so to speak. And it would make a very good job at that, by the way. Anyway, Chateau Laguiole, with a little R on this piece right here. We have some guillochage, or filework. With the B, unfortunately, for all my Laguiole Puritans, this is welded on. It is not part of the spring. So I know some people don't like that, but I don't have an issue with it. Centering is fairly good. It's a little off to the left, although I've seen worse. Gapping, there's a little bit of a gap. Pardon me. There's a little bit of a gap here, although it's certainly far from the worst I've ever seen. There's also a little bit of a gap here. It's a little on the rough finishing side. Transitions are seamless all around. The action, there is no spring for this piece right here, which is the bottle opener, or the two-step corkscrew. Sommelier knives as a whole, I don't have many of them. I believe this is either my first or second of them. But they have three tools that you will almost always see. One of my favorites that I don't have is the Victorinox Winemaster. Absolutely gorgeous knife. I still want to get one. But the three things on a sommelier's knife are a little blade, sometimes serrated, like in this case. See their little teeth there. Only on one side. Oh, and it did say made in France, so after opening it up, we did know it was a genuine Laguiole. Blade play is non-existent, corkscrew play is non-existent, and bottle opener play is non-existent, so very sturdy knife. Overall, the spring, well done. Transition to the blade is fairly good. The blade itself is absolutely... I think that's centered. Oh, I'm holding it the wrong way. It's a little off to the left, but it is very close to centered. Nice nail nick. The handles on here are barrel oak, which, in my opinion, look gorgeous. I love oak wood. I love it on knives. It's just a very timeless, classic material that I quite like. See, very, very smooth for oak. Something you don't often see. It's often rough or coarse. This I haven't put oil on this in a very long time, but it's a very, very smooth piece. Stainless steel pins, stainless steel liners, kind of a brushed stainless bolster. Of course, you have the B. Anyways, but the three attachments that you have here would be the serrated blade for cutting around the rim of a bottle, the corkscrew that you, of course, would put in the cork, and then after twisting your corkscrew for a fair amount of time, you use this to latch onto the side of the bottle as a form of two-step opener. Now, it's a little hard to describe without an active test subject, but I will just leave it there with you. Simply get the corkscrew all the way, and then this just aids in the traditional removing the cork. It's an extra little notch, or this doesn't need to be just for wine. This could also be for bottles of beer or soda. You could just latch them under here and pop them off. Although calling this a soda knife would sound far less sophisticated than calling it a sommelier's knife. But I do think that despite the fact that I will probably never use this, and if I do, it probably will not be for $200+ bottles of wine, it doesn't change the fact that this is very elegant. This is very simplistic in its own way. And the construction, despite having a little bit of gapping issues, I would say is overall rather good. One thing I would like to comment on is how strong this spring is. I don't know if you can pick that up on camera, but that is an incredibly strong spring for the corkscrew. You can move it all the way back here if you have any need to. I don't know why you would, but it stops here. It's kind of like the half stop point, but it's an incredibly strong spring. And then, of course, you just can fold this up. Sits nicely and flush right there. Half stop on the blade itself. The pull is, I'd say, roughly a 5. It's not very strong. But the pull on this, oh boy, that would be easily an 8. Here, just listen to that again. Very, very nice, snappy spring. So, I'll do a comparison with the only knife I actually have with me at the moment. That being the Rough Rider Quillcliff. And as you can see, despite their obvious differences, when you flip the Sommelier's knife upside down, you can actually see that they both have a very serpentine handle shape, which again I believe is called the reverse dog leg. Of course, this knife is not serrated, it is just a pocket knife and has a nice Wharncliffe blade. I really like this knife, by the way. Anyways, so this is a bit of a shorter video, which is still 10 minutes long because I babble a lot. It's what I do. It's what I'm good at. But aside from that, I just thought I'd talk about this. It's a little fun knife. It's not really an everyday carry essential for me, but it certainly has its charm, and I'm happy that we got it. Even if for nothing else, just the fact that it's worth easily double what we paid, if not 3 or 4 times what we paid. So I'm very, very happy to have this. I think that it's of immensely good quality. Again, you can be picky about little gaps like that, but wood can sometimes swell. It's like stag, and sometimes it will curl around a little due to the natural reaction of the wood. So I'm not going to say that that's a problem. It doesn't present any flaws at the moment, and just overall, what this is made for, it would do a very, very good job of. And yeah, I mean, I'm not going to be carrying this, but it's just a great, simple little knife. And the fact that this cost possibly $200 US just goes to show what little wonders you can find when you go to antique shows. So thank you very much for watching. I'm sorry I was not as knowledgeable on this knife as I could be. I do know that these are easily a 100-plus-year-old pattern. I believe they were invented, the Laguiole at least I know was invented in France, but the Sommelier knife as a whole, I believe, was originally also a French style, although I cannot claim to know that for sure. I might be wrong, but this one for sure is indeed French-made, 12C27, oak wood. Very nice action on really everything, and just overall, it's a great little tool. I really like it. So, thank you very much for watching. This has been the Chateau Laguiole Sommelier knife in oak wood, and this is the Knife Raven. As always, signing off. Goodbye.